trying to get you. Jason, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Victor, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Father God in heaven, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've allowed us to be in today. God, we ask that you will help us throughout our day, throughout the year. God, we ask that you will protect the city, Lord, and that you will guide it in the right direction. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Anita, roll call, please. Or Lorena, whoever's going to do it.
Councilor Foster,
Present.
Councilor Locke,
Here.
Councilor Lorenz,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Zagala,
Here.
Mayor Becker.
Here.
Quorum is declared.
Modifications to the agenda.
Yes, sir. To add F2 appointment of Laura Mezoff to URA. Sorry. Councilor
Anything
Foster.
We still have a motion and a second on it, yeah. I didn't know, was that the only change to the agenda?
Things good.
We're learning.
Yep.
So we need a motion.
We need a motion.
Motion to accept the change of the agenda of F2 appointments to the URA.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the appointment, or the add F2 to the approval, or let me try this again. Add F2 to the proclamation, communication, and appointment. Is there any more discussion? Lorena?
Councilor Foster.
Aye.
Councilor Locke.
Aye.
Councilor Lorenz.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Zagala.
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion moved to approve to add F2 appointment of Laura Mezoff to URA.
Okay. Approval of consent agenda and minutes of regular meeting from August 18th, 2022.
Move to approve the consent agenda and accounts payable.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda for the regular minutes of the meeting of August 18th, 2022. Is there any more discussion? Lorena?
Councilor Foster.
Aye.
Councilor Locke.
Aye.
Councilor Lorenz.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Zagala.
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
I'm so sorry, guys. Motion carries moves to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. All right, proclamation, communications, and appointments. F1, resignation of Barbara Hersing from the Rio Grande District Library Board.
So, council, we received the resignation from the library board, and we have posted it on the city website, trying to help them find a replacement. Those will go back to the library for their recommendation, and then would come to you all for approval. So it's just kind of an FYI that there is a vacancy.
Okay.
No action is needed.
Right. We'll move on to F2. Appointment of Laura Mezoff to the URA board.
So good evening, Council. In your packet, you should have seen a letter from Laura Mezoff requesting to be on the URA board. URA board right now consists of 6 members, so staff is recommending that she be appointed to the URA board.
I would move to appoint Laura Mezoff to the URA board.
And Nita, why don't you tell them when the next URA meeting is?
The next URA meeting is the 6th of September at 5:30.
Next Tuesday, correct?
Next Tuesday.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to appoint Laura Mezoff to the URA board. Is there any more discussion? Lorena?
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
And then, council, I'd like to just fill in a little bit more. We did receive a resignation of Jim Polston off the URA board. He's currently the chairman. So, and then in visiting with our city attorney today, there are some statutory requirements on who is actually put on this committee. So we're going to be reviewing that further with Jean and see what we need to do. I mean, there's even an appointment that's supposed to be made by the county commissioners, special school board, or the school district, the special districts, and by state statute it's very specific. And so we are going to have to step back and rethink who's on the committee and make sure that we're actively soliciting from each of these organizations to make sure we comply with state statute.
Does the person that we just voted on
She was
comply?
one that responded through the notice that we put in the newspaper. So all of this was prior to,
Oh, this, okay.
yeah. So we've got a little work to do with our URA board.
Okay. Go to citizen comments and special presentations. Citizen comments. City Council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and we will not take action at the same meeting. Any citizen comments? Margot?
Good evening, Council. Gigi, I'm happy to remember that you had council tonight, and I'm glad to be here. And I just want to say kudos to the man of the hour for keeping our city looking so nice. The parks look great. The street sweeper is doing an amazing job. I'm so happy to see that. And things just really look nice. I've noticed people starting to spruce up some of their yards that were sort of in disarray for, last year and that. I mean, things are really shaping up nice, and I'm happy to be here. Everybody is positive. Everyone I talked to is really getting anxious about things happening here in the city. Got some good restaurants. Food is excellent. So thank you. Just wanted to say yay for Monte Vista.
Thank you, Margot.
Thank you, Ms. Margot.
Any other citizen comments? All right, we'll go to scheduled appearances. In order to be in this portion of the agenda, you have to file appropriate paperwork with the city clerk by noon on Monday prior to the meeting. So, Connor, Animal Shelter, and City Support.
All right. Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Brittany Harlan, so I am the Vice President of the Connor Animal Shelter. I have been for about 2 years now. I moved here from Pagosa Springs. I'm actually a native of the Valley, and then I came back because I'm a professor at Adams State University. So just wanted to kind of let you know a little bit about myself first. So we are here today because we're running low on funds to be able to take care of all of our intake dogs from Monte Vista. So I just wanted to let you know we are putting efforts out there. We're not just solely relying on the contract that we currently have with you to care for these animals. So our number one, we're doing grants, right? So we've applied, we currently have grants through El Pumar, we have it through Outcolt, we do one every year with Colorado Gives, we have the Bates Foundation, so all of those are providing support. Overall, it approximately costs us $180,000 a year to maintain the shelter. And yes, we do take in dogs from other counties and they do pay their contract fees, but we are also working towards, our advertising efforts. Advertising, we do everything in the newspaper. We run our own website and we list all of our dogs currently on the website. We also have a Facebook account where we are advertising each one of those dogs. And then we've developed transfer partnerships. So we do ship dogs out to all different areas of Colorado. We have a partnership with Pagosa Springs. We have partnerships on the Front Range. So we're doing everything in our efforts to try and move these dogs out of here when they start to kind of develop a forever home here in Monte Vista. We also are working towards adoption events. We put those on all the time we've done a couple at Tractor Supply in Alamosa. They are a partner with us, so they allow us to bring dogs in. We also do different adoption events, so anytime we have a local event here in town that you guys host, or the Art Walk, Cinco de Mayo, any of those events, we always hold a booth and we bring adoptable dogs so that we can try and get them good exposure to the community and help push them out. In terms of other like networking and things that we've done, we've also worked with 9 News. So we did a big story on one of our long-term residents. His name was Drools. It drew a lot of attention to the valley, brought in a lot of individuals who wanted to help donate and also adopt Drools. And we were successful in that. So having those types of partnerships. So those are kind of all-encompassing of the efforts that we currently are putting out. So I kind of put together some numbers for you. Doreen and I, we're both accountants, so we really love numbers and money, right? So we figured that through our calculations, the average length of stay for the dog here in our shelter is 46 days. And we've approximated that it's on the very bare minimum end, $12 a day to care for each one of those dogs. And the only reason that it's that low is because we have a lot of individuals who are donating dog food. So the community is very good about supporting us in terms of food. But for other things like helping pay for utilities, all those other things, salary expenses, right? Those are always a really heavy hitter expense. And currently we only have 2 full-time employees. And so it's really difficult when they're maintaining upwards of 40 animals to give accurate care to all of them. They do the best. They're working overtime for us. But we would really like to add another employee to the payroll so that we can assist with that. So kind of those 46 days times the $12, that's where that figure of the $560 for their average length of stay. We do charge adoption fees, and we did recently increase those to try and help generate more funds in the shelter. But there's only so much we can do because then the community really doesn't respond very well to high adoption prices, right? So we're trying to balance that as well. So there's some charts right up there so you can see kind of our adoption rates. You can see the number of animals that we have served for the past 2 years in the shelter. So let me look over here at this figure since that's super tiny up there. So last year in 2021, we took in 292 dogs. That's kind of what we were serving. So quite a few animals is what we were trying to help maintain. And so far, we have taken in 85 dogs in 2022, and 55% of those came just from Monte Vista. So 40 of those dogs or more came from Monte Vista alone. So those are just some figures for you guys. So like I said, we're trying to add another employee so that we make sure that we're giving accurate care to the animals and taking care of them. We also are really trying to use all of our grant money to do improvements to the facility. We need more kennel spaces so that we could serve a larger capacity. Right now we can only maintain about 35 to 40 dogs, and that's not enough. And the shelter out that just was built, the big DDFL shelter, that one's full as well. So they're turning away animals too. So it's not just a problem with our shelter. This is all across Colorado. Colorado is a no-kill state, so we are having an influx from all of the Midwest states. So Texas, Arkansas, Kansas, all of those states are pumping all their dogs into Colorado because we have the no-kill, and they'll euthanize them there. So they're just dumping them over here. So our transfer partners and things are overwhelmed. So we're really having a lack of ability to move the dogs. We have networked and joined a group that's called SARA, and essentially the idea is that it's a network of all of the small shelters across the state of Colorado, because big funding doesn't come to us from the state. They really fund those big organizations, and they kind of turn their cheek when it comes to us small town little animal shelters. So we currently are trying to develop that partnership, so hopefully we can network and get more dogs out, and that with that small community of animal shelters, we can help each other be stronger. So those are kind of our plans for the future. So what is the whole point, right? Any additional increase to our contract would be greatly welcomed. We know funds are tight. We know that there's other areas in the city that need to be served, but just any little bit that you guys could potentially come up with to add to our current contract would be greatly welcomed. And we haven't asked for an increase in our contract in a significant period of time. So we just, with the inflation and everything, we would really greatly appreciate some support. So, thank you. And any questions that you might have?
I see where you have a lot of owner surrenders. Can you tell us why?
Yes, so currently we're having a lot of owner surrenders because people can't afford their animals. That's part of the big issue right now, is dog food's super expensive. We do try to keep dogs in people's homes, so it's not our goal to take them. So we try and send them out with dog food and care packages to try and keep them in the home, but that doesn't always work out. There's other issues. We also have a lot of issues where it's not very renter friendly in the valley or in Monte Vista to have animals. So a lot of people end up having to relinquish their pet because they move to a place that doesn't allow animals. So that's part of the problem as well.
Do you have very many repeat owner surrenders?
Maybe a handful, but for the most part, every dog that we get put into a home is really successful. There's probably, I would say, maybe out of all of the animals that we had, maybe 4 or 5 last year that were repeats. So really good numbers. We have really good doctors once we successfully get them in the home.
Are there other no-kill states nearby? Because from what I heard you say is everybody's pumping them into Colorado, and it's okay, everybody's gonna have 4 dogs a person.
Yeah, right? So the other no-kill shelters are all on the East Coast. So the issue that we have is we don't have a transport vehicle. We don't have something that we could actually load some of the dogs and safely transfer them to shelters on the East Coast. So Florida, New York, all of that area, their shelters are more empty because they're putting bans on allowing breeders and different things like that. So they're forcing people into adoption. And so there are other no-kill options, but they're just really far away from us. Yeah. And that is one of our future goals, is to raise enough through a grant to be able to purchase a transfer vehicle. But we have to remain in compliance with PACFA, So it's a governing agency, you guys all know about that, that tells you all of the rules and the guidelines of what's safe for the animals. And so we have to remain in compliance with them, which is why our facility needs updating, and we need a safe transfer vehicle. I can't personally just load them in the car and take them, otherwise I would, because I'm that crazy dog lady, obviously. So, any other questions?
So the tables you sent us, you
Yes.
have Monte Vista Animal Control and then City of Monte Vista separate. What's the difference between those two line items?
So the Monte Vista Animal Control is just when the actual agents come and drop them off. The City of Monte Vista is any of the dogs from like the community, bringing them in from a resident from town.
Oh,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So Brittany, in the past, there's been some concerns that when our code enforcer or our officers are taking the dogs to Connor, that there's no space for the Monte dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So is that getting rectified? Is that
Yes.
better now?
Yes, so that's rectified. Anybody who we currently have a contract with, they have a slot, and we are keeping kennels remaining open for the the city or Rio Grande County, whoever we're contracting with, so that there are kennels available when we have dogs, an influx of dogs.
Okay.
So currently today, Center tried to bring dogs in, and we had to turn them away because they're full for their contract.
Okay. And with Center in particular,
Mhm.
you guys have stopped collecting the kind of impound fee that they want back at the city?
Yes, so legally we can't do that.
Right.
We cannot do that, and they were trying to enforce that and make us collect the fee, but that's not our responsibility. The individuals have to go to the police or the city and go pay that contract fee.
Yeah, let me put
Yeah.
in some there.
And for the record, Doreen, would
yeah.
you state your name, please?
Oh, I'm Doreen Wilkinson, and I am the treasurer for Connor Animal Shelter. And what the issue is that they wanted us to hold the dogs until the owner paid their $100 fine.
Mhm.
Well, owners couldn't afford to pay their fine, so they never came and got the dog. So we held dogs for a long time, and come to find out that might be illegal. But we just talked to them today, and he said that their lawyer said it was not illegal. So we're in a quandary, we have to do some research. And everything, so.
Thank you, Dream. So, tell me, so if you pick up a dog
Mhm.
and then they come and bail it out of jail,
Yeah, it's doggy jail.
it's one fee, right? And then if it happens again, then it goes up, correct? Is that, do you guys know?
For us,
Like if you guys get a dog and then the second time you pick it up again, then
Yeah, I believe it goes up, and then ultimately you have an appearance in court if it continues.
So it starts out at a $25 fine for the first time, and then the second time it goes to 50, third time is 75, fourth time is an automatic appearance in court.
okay.
But we don't collect that fee.
Right.
So,
Yes.
what exactly would you like from City of Monte Vista? That would make it a little easier for us to, something quantifiable.
You want a quantifiable
Yeah.
amount. Shoot for the stars or aim for the reasonable. No, I'm just teasing you.
Shoot for the stars. Good. Whatever you want to do.
I guess it's not ultimately my decision. What do you three think?
What would be a
The
help?
three of us.
I mean, I realize anything would be a help, but what would actually be helpful?
Yeah, $27.50. I think so. Yeah.
That'd be $250 a month.
2,750?
Yeah, in total, so $250 a month.
Excuse me?
$250 a month, so
An
$2,750 for the entire contract for the year. So an additional $250 a month.
What have we been paying on that?
I don't, is it
2,500.
2,500?
So just add another 250 is what you're asking for?
Yes. And I realize you can't, you don't.
For
need
the
to
sake
make
of
decisions.
discussion, I would move to approve an extra $250 a month for Connor Animal Shelter to our yearly contract.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve an extra $250 a month, you said?
$250 a month,
To the contract.
which is the $27.50 a year.
Mhm.
Is there any more discussion on this?
I will actually speak against this one, Mayor. I'm not against giving 250. I'm against the timing. I would actually like to see that put into the next budget cycle instead of doing it at this point in time.
I think that Connor provides a fantastic service. I've been there, I've toured the facilities a couple of times. It's been very hard not to come home with lots of dogs. Had to decide if I wanted the dogs or wanted my husband.
How many dogs you got?
It's been close. And I understand Councilor Foster's desire to want to wait until we do the next year's budget, but those dogs are there now. They need medical care now. They can't wait to eat until we reapprove a budget. These are problems that are happening right now. Without Connor, we already have a stray dog problem. I can drive down almost any street in Monte Vista and somebody's let their dog out. And that's not Connor's fault, and that's not the city of Monte Vista's fault. That is the dog owner's fault, and it angers me. But I can't do anything about that. I can't go make people behave. So I'm thankful that Connor's there to take care of those animals. They don't get run over. They don't get hurt.
The only
There's
thing
my thought.
I agree with Larry. I think we should wait for the budget cycle, but if you want to do it now, I think you should also decide what you're cutting out of the current budget, where that 250 comes from. What are we willing to give up to do this, since we've already got a budget?
Okay, that's fair. Do we want to go through the budget right now?
How,
I'm sure I can find something.
so is it just a question, because I heard Councilor Locke say that these dogs need like medical attention now. Like,
Yes.
is it, how desperate is the shelter in need of that money right now? Just because is there time for us to be able to fix that into our budget?
You can put it in your budget and we will be fine.
Okay, I think that would be the best thing to do.
We're resilient. We'll hang in there. We just need help at some point because there's only so much we can do.
When do we review the budget next?
So we'll start the 2023 budget this month in September, and then you all will approve it, and it'll go into effect in January.
So, 2 months.
Huh?
3 months. This way that would go into effect. We start reviewing budget here in this month. And then in January 1st, it will go into effect.
So that they, I think, from what they said, they'll be okay until this next year. I think we can work that into our budget. So,
Are y'all good till then?
Yeah.
You sure?
We'll figure it out and make it work. So.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Anything else?
Thank you.
so you'll need to withdraw your,
We need to vote it down.
I'm sorry, excuse me?
you'll need to withdraw your motion.
You don't
It's
have
gonna
to,
be
we
hard.
can vote on it too.
Yeah, we can vote on it.
Yeah, why don't we just vote on it, because I really don't want to withdraw it. I just don't think I can say those words.
Alright. So we have a motion on the floor with a second to approve the $250. Lavena?
Counselor Foster,
Nay.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala,
nay.
Mayor Becker,
Nay.
Motion is denied with a 4-1 vote of nay.
Not that we're not here to support you.
Right.
No, I understand.
I work budgets for you.
Yeah, we are accountants, we know how it works.
Thank you, ladies.
Yes,
Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Brittany.
Yes,
And thanks for the in-depth information
yes.
Very good
in the
presentation.
packet.
You ladies did a fine job this evening.
All right, we're gonna sleep.
Thank
Slip
you.
out.
You're not gonna hang out with us?
I gotta take care of my kids, we got football.
Gotta go feed the dogs.
Okay, we'll go on to public hearing, performance of the Urban Renewal Authority in carrying out the Blight Project financed by Federal Community Block Grant. Who's presenting that one?
So,
You want me to conduct that, Mayor?
yeah, Dale,
Okay.
so the city attorney conducts.
Public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move into public hearing.
So this is a public hearing called pursuant to notice. The record should reflect that the time is approximately 6:30 p.m. We're in the city council chambers, city of Monte Vista. And a quorum of the city council is present. The notice of public hearing states that the city council will conduct a public hearing at 95 West 1st Avenue, Monte Vista, Colorado on September the 1st, 2022 at the regular scheduled council meeting at 6:00 p.m. Purpose of the hearing is to allow citizens to review and comment on the performance of the Urban Renewal Authority in carrying out their blight project, which was financed with federal community block grant funds provided by the state of Colorado. Written comments are also welcome and must be received no later than August 26, 2022 at 95 West 1st Avenue, Monte Vista, Colorado. Attention City Clerk, you need advance. Information and records regarding the above described project are available at the City Clerk's office during regular office hours. Have any comments been received at all?
No, sir, they have not.
Okay. The purpose of this public hearing is basically to close out a community development block grant. My understanding is that the grant was for about $625,000 in 2017, and that it was for the purpose of acquisition and rehab of dilapidated properties, including demolition. I believe the grant was amended 3 times, the last amendment being in October 2020, and the grant has been consistently reduced over that period of time. Only the acquisition and demolition was reimbursable, and my information also so far is the city only spent about $45,000 of that grant, with $20,000 being spent on rehab and about $25,000 on administration. And Anita can correct anything that I've said incorrectly there, but I will turn it over to our Finance Director, Anita, and at this point for any further testimony.
Well, he pretty much covered it. It was originally $625,000, and the 3 amendments reduced it to $325,000. The reimbursed through the grant was the $43,000, and it expired. Is that the right term? June the 5th, and there was just paperwork. Documentation, monitoring, quarterly reports that had to be filed, and part of the closeout process was to allow the public to have a say in how the funds were spent. And so now we're at the point where we can have this hearing and we can close it out. Any questions?
Any questions by council? Any questions by anyone else in the audience?
Apologize, Jennifer Graves, thank you.
Just state your name for the record if you don't mind.
Jennifer Graves,
Okay.
Graves, if that helps.
Okay.
Just curious, is this is for fixing up dilapidated properties in town.
It was for acquisition, demolition, and rehabilitation.
And there was only 40,000 of that spent.
There was more spent on, what do you call it? The removal, the demolition side of it, but that was pretty much the city's had to cover in match funds.
Okay.
So that's not part of what was spent in this grant.
Okay.
Only as Jean said, they purchased 2 pieces, reimbursed by this grant was the purchase of 2 pieces of property for the $20,000, and then $23,000 in administration was reimbursed.
Ms. Graves, let me help clarify this. So these were funds that were being administered through the Urban Renewal Authority, and the purpose was to purchase blighted properties in the community in order to get them scraped. And then the city would own or the Urban Renewal Authority would own the lots, and then we could, with restrictions, would have to sell them back as affordable properties and or keep them for a number of years, and then the restrictions would be taken away. And so what happened with the city is they were starting, or the Urban Renewal Authority working with the city, were purchasing the properties, and then COVID hit. And so everything just slowed down, and the grant didn't get executed in which it was intended.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right.
Any further questions? I believe what the granting agency is requiring is a motion by the council to go ahead and close this grant out.
To approve that closure.
So if so, we will close the evidentiary portion of the public hearing and remand this matter to the city council for action on closing out the grant.
I make a motion that we close out the grant.
Seconded.
You've been moved and seconded to close out the grant. Is there any more discussion? Lorena?
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries to approve to close grant for URA.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Gene.
Yes, sir.
Alright, we're gonna move to contracts, agreement, and leases. Agreement with Alamos State Bank to let them list Sky High as an emergency location.
Yes, so we were contacted by Alamos State Bank, and for as part of their contingency plan, they need to have a secondary location should there be a catastrophic event at the bank. And so they have agreements with another entity down south out of La Hera, and then they were requesting to put one to list Sky High. And so we talked, I talked to Chaz Mueller, and you know, kind of the bottom line is that they would need one of the conference rooms. You know, we could make up whatever disaster we'd want. You know, the plumbing went out and flooded their lobby, so they had to replace the carpet. They would be in its Sky High for, you know, as limited amount of time as they would need to be in there. It would be staffed by them. Their main security issue is that they have to have good internet service, which we do at Sky High. And so in the event that we would have, if it was Stampede Week, they have other options to go to another location. But being the neighborly city to the west, I thought that this was something that we could probably take care of.
Have they specified how much area they need?
So they would need to set up for just a couple of bank tellers. They wouldn't be,
No vault.
no vault, no loan services, no opening accounts. It would just be for that immediate,
So one of the smaller conference rooms would be plenty.
yeah. And in your contract, it says how much they would be paying us for that rent to handle that. So I just need a motion to,
Would make a motion to accept the agreement with the Alamosa State Bank to let them list Sky High as an emergency location.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agreement with Alamo State Bank to let them list Sky High as an emergency location. Is there any more discussion?
I didn't, I thought that it was fine to do that. I thought the rate was a little low. You know, if they're in a pinch, charge them a lot. I didn't have any problems with the agreement. So long as we have, and you've already mentioned it, so long as we have contingents for not interfering with things that we are already doing.
correct.
We're gonna be good neighbors, but it's gonna cost you. Is that what you're saying?
Not quite where I thought the discussion was going.
No, that's not done.
Lorena?
Counselor Foster,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve to allow Alamosa State Bank to list Sky High as an emergency location.
Between dogs and people in emergency situations, you're a hard man, Mr.
So you've got, we're going to talk about the Valley 3 Theater. You've got the brochure that we've prepared. If you all have any other suggestions or things you would like to see deleted or other things you would like added, we can do that. What we're going to propose tonight is that we have 2 open houses, one on September the 12th from 4 to 6:30 p.m. and then one on September the 14th from 7:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. And I think this is a Monday and a Wednesday. And so the purpose would be to allow the public to go through it so they can see whatever they see. They can take a pamphlet. They've got some little bit of hard data to consider. We picked these dates because we can get this then in the newspaper for next week, next Wednesday's paper, to then for people to know then the following week is the open houses. And then we propose a work session with your public comment. And I'm thinking either September the 26th or the 28th. So that would be in the evening at 5:30 or 6. And then you guys kind of work it out the work session of what your thoughts are, what you want to do. And then we bring it back to you all for a decision on October the 6th.
What was the second date for the open house, please?
September the 12th and September the 14th. The 14th would be 7:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Or September the 12th is 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m.
So the work session that you're proposing on 26 or 28, we have the RFPs in place already at that point in time?
No. So that's where you guys would say, okay, we do want an RFP. I can have kind of a work document for you all to review and decide if that's how you want to go forward with it, with an RFP. And, you know, as I've been going through, I told you last time, I was looking through some of the minutes and stuff, and there's just some real disconnects as far as how this was set up and how it's ran today. And at least in paper files, we don't have the in-between of what's taken place. So Nita's gonna start looking through, I said we need to start going back through the meeting minutes to actually see when did things change, or did we ever have an updated MOU for renewal on rent and the utilities? And at the beginning, there was 3 different entities. There was the City of Monte Vista, there was the Community Development Fund group, and then there was the Monte Vista,
Community fund,
no, the Monte Vista Community Fund, and what was the second one?
the development work.
And then this Monte Vista Development Group. And Jim Polston signed those papers as that representative. But we haven't gotten a hold of him to say, when did you guys step aside from this? And in this MOU, it's very specific on the duties and expectations of what was supposed to happen between the city and then these 2 organizations. So we're still kind of digging into this a little bit.
Explain to me, please, what at this point, what difference that makes.
I don't know that it does make any difference, but to me, it's interesting to know, when did the things shift? Originally, it said the City of Monte Vista would pay for the manager, and we would have on backup an assistant manager if the manager couldn't show up. And it was specific on what they would be paid. Well, then at some point, we got away from all of that.
And I don't know why you,
and maybe you guys want to tell me, don't dig into it any further. It doesn't make a difference one way or another.
Well, I think it would be interesting to know, but the fact remains that we can't go back and change anything. We have a movie theater on Adams Street that we have to deal with as it is today. So I'm trying to get these dates. You wanted to have a work session on this?
With the public comment, bring them in. That would either be at September the 26th, that's a Monday, or the 28th, whatever day would work for you guys. And that just puts it.
6 and 28.
Or. And that would just put it on the weekend that we don't have a city council meeting.
Okay.
And then you could come back, the next week is your city council meeting.
And you're saying to put out.
So we're doing public comment at the work session?
Yeah.
We're doing the public for the horse again, because we haven't put out an RFP. They're just gonna come tell us what they want. And it's gonna be a wide breadth of everything. I think we should focus first. Get proposals, and then get public comment on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying regardless of public comment, we're gonna go and get proposals?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And
I'd rather have public comment on those.
Yes.
What direction we're moving forward.
I'm also not sure why we're having an open house without putting out the RFP first. I mean, you don't usually have an open house at a house unless it's listed.
Yeah, but why would you want somebody to go put together a plan when they don't know what they're even looking at?
No. We put out the request for proposal along with the open house, so that by the time its requests for proposals are due, they've been able to go to the open house, and we can move on a little more quickly that way.
Okay.
And then let the public hear those proposals. Let us hear what the public thinks about those proposals.
Okay.
Okay.
But let's just, my whole thing is, let's just get this moving. I know government moves slow, I get it, but we don't have to help it.
I would agree with Councilors Lorenz and Locke. Hard to say fast. I want to see everything. I don't want to restrict people's imagination on this situation. Someone may come up with an idea to retrofit one of the theaters to with trioscopic image so we can attract three-eyed aliens. Okay, I want to see that. It's not practical probably, but I'm serious. I want to see every concept that someone has for this theater in front of us, because there may be ideas out there that I have yet to even consider. And I don't want to limit someone else's concept of what could happen here. We have the ultimate say of what does happen, but sometimes there's diamonds in the rough when you on some of these things. And I don't want to limit the RFP and say you must conform to this. I want to see what people have in mind for it.
I don't think that our town wants to lose the ability to have a movie theater. I think that that's important to keep that movie screen and the projector and the sound system and, well, a working sound system and all that there, because I don't think we want to lose that. But I would hope that whoever would bring forth proposals would take into account not only their ideas, but what does the community want as well. And that's what I'm going to be looking for is, have you taken into account what the community wants, what's good for the community, not just what can make you money.
But if we have the proposals up and we have the public hearing after we have the proposals, then we'll know.
Right. I believe on August 4th that we made the motion to put out an RFP. Is that correct?
I looked at the minutes and we changed it.
You did not actually make a motion to put out that RFP. Gigi had presented to you to do several different things, and none of you decided on one certain thing, and that's why last meeting she had asked you guys to let us go through all the paperwork and come up with ideas for you all to pick and see what direction you wanted to go. But no proposal, no request was sent out.
Pretty much what we did was we directed the city staff to make a plan.
Correct.
Make a plan to do this, because you had already had a schedule that we had laid out, and then we wanted to flip it. So, and I can't remember what that plan was.
Well, and I gave you guys some things to think about, and I actually came up with one more as far as that goes, and that is we could also remain owner and just flat out lease it to somebody else as well. The challenge that I'm having and staff's having is you guys really, okay, you've now given more clarity on what you want to see, how you want to see this done, but you haven't, I feel like I'm on a chicken chasing chickens as far as the whole proposal thing goes, because you still haven't really said we want to set a price, we don't want to set a price, we want to auction. I mean, unless I'm just misunderstanding and you just want proposals and you'll pick a proposal and then we go.
Okay.
So what we had done, here's the paper that you gave us. And we had September 1st, public hearing, September 7th, public open house, September 12th, public open house, September 15th, city council meeting, decide the process of what we want to do with the facility. And I remember, I believe it was Jason, said let's flop that. So the city council meeting, decide the process of what we want to do with the facility first. And then have a public hearing, and then the open house.
By my recollection, it was decide what we want to do with it first, have the open house, and not have the public hearing until the end when we have proposals in hand.
Right.
Right. I think we did agree that we didn't want to be in the movie theater business anymore. That really wasn't our place to do.
It's how we run the golf course.
Huh?
We run the golf course on a subcontract situation. We could run the theater on a subcontract situation.
That had different
And that's a proposal
conditions
we
on
get
it.
if we want. If we get that proposal, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, we may get Jeff Bezos to come in here. I doubt it, and say he wants to throw a ton of money at it and turn it into a concierge theater, I would give it to Jeff Bezos if he was going to come in and throw that kind of money at the theater. You're asking about what our technique is. Do we auction it? Do we sell it? Do we put a price on it? No, I don't think, speaking me personally, no, I don't think we auction it because it's the good of the community that we're after. Okay. And if someone comes in with a fantastic, amazing proposal, I would be willing to give it to them at a fire sale price for the good of the community. That's my personal feeling. I'm only one of 5, so I can't particularly speak to that. But I want to see the proposals.
I'm fine with giving it to somebody who will make the best use of it, so it's still a centerpiece of Adams Street, so it's still an attraction for Monte Vista. I'm not looking to make the top dollar on it. Just like you said, it's what's best for the community.
Yeah.
We'll come out ahead just not having it on our books, so I'm okay with giving it away. I'm not looking for top dollar.
Does that help clarify your direction any?
Yes.
Have we helped yet? Okay.
Yes, yeah, it's poquito.
Did you catch that chicken?
So, no.
If I'm understanding it correctly, we basically want to put out the request for proposals, have the open house, listen to the proposals in a public hearing, and then choose one.
Okay, I would still disagree and think we need to have the open house first so that these people, who's ever interested, know what they're looking at to write the proposal about.
I think they have to come out shortly. You put the request for proposal out and let them know this is when you get to see the open house.
Yeah.
Right.
You put out the request for proposal.
Okay, yes.
Yes. The deadline is after the open house.
Yeah, open house is now, and then the proposals. Request for proposal, open house,
Deadline.
proposals. Done. Number 4.
Okay, we can get that out, I think, pretty quickly. And we can still keep the open house schedule on for September the 12th or the 14th. And we probably would not want them back until at least 30 days, 6 weeks.
It's like 30 days is minimum in the RFP, correct?
Yeah.
So maybe have the proposals presented at the last meeting in October? Would that be 30 days?
That would be,
Because that's, we're doing the open houses on the September 12th and 14th.
right.
So if we go for the 3rd Thursday in October, that's
The 20th.
pretty close to a month. It's got to be. I'm not looking at a calendar, counting days.
It's the 20th.
Excuse me?
It's the 20th.
It's the 20th.
The
Which
20th.
is a
Okay,
council
so
meeting.
that's over 30.
How about the first meeting in November?
What would be the reason for that?
So that,
It's better
I
for
mean,
me.
I don't know. It's what?
I said it's better for me.
He said it's better for him.
Okay, well, that's a good reason. There's one vote. There's 20% of your votes right there.
For the difference between, for 2 weeks difference, I could give them extra time just to get more proposals in, make sure people have time to do what they want to do.
Get a plan.
Yeah, for an extra 2 weeks, it's not a huge deal.
I'm not going to die on a 2-week hill. I just don't see why we keep dragging this out.
And we're not. And that's where I'm frustrated. There's no rush to suddenly get this through. And it's got to be thoughtful for council, any pushback you all are going to receive, or any applause that you get out of this that you'll receive. And you want people to have the time to put their thoughts into it. We don't know if they need to go talk to bankers, talk about capital infusion, I don't know how long that process would take, but 2 more weeks isn't a lot of time.
No, it's not. That's why I said I'm not going to die on a 2-week hill.
Okay. So we'll get the request for proposal out. We'll leave it the September 12th and the 14th. If by we get somebody that says that they need to come the next week, we'll make accommodations and we'll take them through the building. We'll look for the public, let's see.
For the sanity of
Do you
city
guys-
staff, I would ask that y'all consider if there's any unscheduled, showings other than the open house, that it be from people who are out of town and are only going to be here for, a couple of days, or, not just because someone here just wants to get in earlier or at a different time, or because you've given it several hours here,
Right.
and I think that's fair.
But we also pick the same week. So you could have somebody that's on vacation that week. Who
Well,
wants to
and
go.
that would be fair too. I mean, I'm just saying there should be a reason, just so that y'all aren't having to run out of the theater on people's whims.
Right. Nope, we don't have the time to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so what's the first council meeting in November?
Second,
November
third.
November 3rd. And at that council meeting then, you will review the proposals?
Review the proposals, take a public hearing, and hopefully vote on it.
Okay,
So the deadline for turning in the proposals needs to be a little bit ahead of that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Personally, I would like at least a week to review the proposals.
absolutely.
Well, that would put the 30 days in there for sure, so.
So we could actually give the deadline for the RFPs on October 26th. And then they can be sent to council on the 27th, which is a Thursday. And then they have the entire week to review them before their hearing, the public hearing on the 3rd.
Thank you.
So you're making the deadline the 26th.
It gives
Okay.
us, we'll get them the next day, and we have a week to review them before we take it up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gigi. All right, we'll move on to financial reports. Anita.
I'm exhausted. This is going to be easy. Thank you, Council, Mayor. I haven't given you a presentation for a while, so you get to be treated tonight. I put in the packet the memo and the fund summary with the numbers for your review. We finished the month of July. That's 58% of the fiscal year. The cash balance in the main checking account, general fund is $3,043,000, water fund $426,000, sewer fund $444,000. Revenue in excess of expenditures in the general fund came in at $354,000, the sewer fund at $117,000. Expenditures in excess of revenue in the water fund was $37,000. The total expenditure percent of the approved budget amounts, general fund is 55%, water fund 52%, sewer fund 21%. So since we've completed 58%, we're under budget so far. On the balance sheet comparing this year to last year, our account receivable this year is $497,000 in the general fund compared to $471 last year. This year, the receivable, the utility billing had an increase. Miscellaneous receivable is increased, largely in part to Sky High receivable for events. There was a slight increase in property taxes, sales taxes, city sales taxes. The water fund, this year the receivable is increased. And I don't know what to attribute. I think a lot of the reason for that is actually a better working relationship between Michelle, our utility billing clerk, and Rob's public workers. I think they work together a lot better, and so her meter readings are more accurate, and the numbers I think are more accurate than they were previously. Sewer fund in July had a little bit of an increase, but we also increased the rate for the base charge for sewer fund. The accounts payable,
Are we clicking?
Sorry, I don't know what this one
for general water and sewer fund, they are all a lot high, not a lot, but they're all increased from last year. This year in July in the general fund, we had some large expenses. The asbestos cleanup at the golf course hit the books. Sky High removed the chips and they replaced the asphalt for the food court. That was $68,000. We got new wood fiber, if you noticed, at the playground at Chapman. That was $12,000. And then every year we always have an annual dispatch service. That's $43,000, and it just happened to hit the books in July. The water, we have annual loan payment to the Water Conservation Board for water rights acquisition. That's an annual payment of $94,000. And then Rob got to purchase a compact excavator that he was so excited about. And so the cost of that excavator was shared between the water and the sewer fund. So in the revenue and expenditures, total revenue in general fund, it looks like it's less than last year, but that's in large part because of the ARPA funds that we received originally last year. When we received them in July, they were booked as revenue income, and they actually were moved to deferred revenue. So that makes it look like we don't have as much this year, but it's still sitting there, waiting to be spent. Let's see, what else? That's basically it. ARPA funds revenue increase, $250,000 year to date. We had Guzlow building rental income from Sky High, and increases in tax revenue. So those increases kind of offset the loss of the deferred revenue. And total expenditures, general fund increased over last year. In part, IT expenses have so far been at $83,000. We've had increased fuel costs, Sky High expenses, fire cleanup, and wage and benefit expenses have increased. And that's over all of the funds. Our revenue for the monthly comparison came in at $364,000, and it's pretty steady. We average about $358,000 a month for revenue. The expenditures were increased in July. I've covered some of the reasons for that. The asphalt at Sky High, work comp quarterly payments, public health fees for wastewater treatment facility was $16,000, which is an annual expense, and then the excavator and the wood cover. The budget comparison, like as I said, we are under budget by about 3%. current ratio ends up being 2.92 to 1. It reduced from the previous months because we received that second payment of the ARPA funds, so that increased our liabilities. We have 9.11 months of operating expenses in the unassigned fund balance. Do you have any questions?
So on our operating expense, what's the ultimate window there? Could you, 9 point?
People usually tend to try to have at least 6 months, 6 to 9 months. So we're doing good.
Have we received any funds back for the fire cleanup?
That is just
Insurance
waiting.
companies or-
Well, we're just no.
No?
Are you holding your breath down?
I don't think we're going to be I don't think it's possible to be reimbursed like for state funds or anything. One of the proposals was to use ARPA funds to help cover it, and we haven't made decisions yet.
It was never declared as a state, by the state governor, as a disaster. And so we don't get to claim, there won't be any reimbursement from that. We did have one of the families that did have insurance received $5,000 from their insurance company for the actual cleanup, and they did come and bring us that check. So that was thoughtful.
That's nice.
So clearly the governor did not consider it a state of emergency?
Has he already made that decision, or has he ignored us?
It's pretty much put on the emergency manager, so the county signed off on it, we signed off on it, and we're not really sure exactly where in limbo it went. And then there was a bill passed this last year to help take up that kind of, to help communities with that kind of catastrophe, but we don't qualify for it either. We're too small.
Go figure.
So where the funding has come from, and where we allocated it from, was the ARP funding,
We were
correct?
wanting to use
From the
some of
American
the
Rescue
funds
Funds Act,
to help transfer that.
and it was a little over $100,000.
For all that cleanup is what it was?
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't made that until I didn't know if it was really a final decision, so I haven't made that move yet.
Oh, to take it out of ARP? Okay.
Mhm.
So you guys can decide if you want us to take it out of the American Rescue Funds.
So we're just, are we, I'm just trying to understand this. I'm sorry, I'm a little slow. Are we dead in the water with the emergency declaration?
Yes.
That's dead.
That's dead.
He's killed that.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would be amiss if I didn't come up with some question for you. I know I would be totally disappointing you. I had to struggle to find one too. I'm really sorry. You did such a great job. The 1 cent fund. Police is overspent. How do you overspend a fund?
The overspent the 1 cent fund?
Yeah, it says they're 100% of their budget, $10,000 overspent. How does that work?
Well, remember we did that budget amendments?
Yeah.
And they were effective August, so that could help when August comes around. Let me look here at it again.
So they spent it before it was received, but we still have August, September, October, November to make that up.
That's kind of what I thought was happening there, was that they pre-spent the money.
Well, yeah.
Spent. I like that phrase.
It's kind of like,
Things, situations
it's
in my
like
life where I
credit.
can use that.
Okay, now I see it. So they're like, their expenditures are at 46% of the budget, and we should be at 58, so they have overspent by about 10%.
No, I'm down to the
In-
one.
in
I'm down to the
total.
1 cent. I'm down in the 1 cent sales tax fund.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh. And overall, in total, the total expenditures, they're about 10% over. Streets hasn't spent hardly anything. I don't know when he's gonna do his projects.
Okay.
Police looks, it's a little deceiving because he had the purchase of vehicle for the lease. So this capital outlay there's a capital outlay in the police side of 96,000. That's offset by the other financing sources in the revenue side. So, and then I accounted for that in the budget amendment. So
Okay.
we can correct that
Yeah.
in August.
And Rob has prepared a memo to the 1 cent committee to explain
Oh, good.
we're not really spending any of our 1 cent for road maintenance this year or road improvements, so that we can roll it over for a bigger project for next year. And so he'll be explaining that in our next meeting for your report. But basically, the cost of construction and the oil prices was so expensive this year. So we're hoping to just be able to maximize and make it go farther in 2023.
One more question. What about your solar bill?
Rob. We're participating in the solar, community solar, so we're green. How about that?
Tell them the truth, but you did.
Well, none of us, we had a contract. And none of us knew we had this contract, and so we got some bills for about $35,000 for a few different months from Colorado CSG or something, which is a third party, I think, billing for community solar. And so they sent us a copy of the contract, and apparently it was signed in 2017 to participate in this solar project for 20 years. And it's apparently we should be getting credits on our Excel bill for the solar production, and then we in turn pay the solar company that, we should be getting some kind of a benefit for participating. Well, since we had never paid attention and we didn't know anything about this, and so I looked at the history and did some checking of the credits that we received against Excel compared to what they were billing us, and we were going to have to pay more to them than the credits we were receiving. So we weren't getting any benefit at all. So we had a conference call and talked to them and asked them how. I just said that, it's not benefiting us, and the contract says we could cancel if we all agreed. So they went back and looked at the invoices, and they have amended the contract, kind of, so to speak, through email, I guess, to they reworked the invoices, so they're just billing us the same amount of the credit that we received on our Excel bill. And any future bills will be billed to us the lesser of the two rates, either Excel or their rate. Which one is lesser is what they're going to be billing us. That's it. I only saved us a couple $1,000.
More than a couple $1,000.
That's it.
Where's this solar plant at that?
Down between
I think it's in
Alamos and
Alamosa.
Antonito. So it's like Lahara. It's that one that's down there off the highway.
There's a few different names on it. Outback.
Oak Leaf.
Oak Leaf, thank you. Is it dinner time?
That's a steakhouse.
It does sound good. It started with an O.
Oak Leaf and Green Something and Community Solar, and there's a few different names involved in it, but at least I guess now we're more educated about it.
Well, thank you.
And now we know what to watch out for. So, any other
brilliant move by
questions?
that council.
I wouldn't know that one.
Anybody else have any questions?
It's okay. That's all I got.
Okay. So I would ask that you approve the financial report then.
I would move to approve the July financials.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the July financials as presented. Is there any more discussion? Lorena?
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sabella?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries to approve July financials.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Staff proposals and reports. Superhero, Anika.
I'm multitasking back here.
I couldn't see you back there and I thought, did she leave?
I was sending mass texts out trying to get donations for our snack bags for next weekend's travel football game. Because I get to arrange all that fun stuff. So, good evening. So Kids Connection is in our third week of the after school program. Summer wrapped up August 4th, and after school program began September 15th. Typically, the school district is really nice to us. They do this amazing thing called a stagger start, where a small group of kids starts every other day, and then towards the end of the week, we kind of build up to a larger group, but not this year. They decided Monday morning at 8 a.m. they were going to start with every grade all at once. And so after school, we weren't expecting it. I didn't realize until the week before, and I processed it over the weekend. So when my staff came in, I was like, "Oh, by the way." So it was it wasn't a little chaotic. It was really chaotic. We had a lot of kids. We started off the first day with 64. By the end of the week, I think we were up to like 68. We've stayed pretty consistent at about 68. Numbers are slowly starting to increase in our purple room, which is our kindergarten through second grade room. It's always a slow start with those kiddos because kindergarten and first grade are still at Marsh, and if they aren't eligible to ride the bus yet, they have to fill out a waiver so that the school district can approve the waiver for them to ride the bus to us. And so far, every year the school district has been very kind and approved every waiver. There hasn't been one waiver that they haven't approved for us, because childcare has been very essential for our parents to be able to work and provide income for their families. So that's really where we're at. We're operating 2 rooms right now. We finally are we are almost fully staffed. On the books, we are fully staffed, but we have 1 staff member that won't start until the 12th. We were able to create an additional staff position with the sustainability grant that we got in February, and it took us until September to finally get that position filled. We've been running short all year long, and so we are so excited. Jessica Ayers just started with us on Tuesday. So she came back on Wednesday and finished out with us today. We didn't scare her away. She comes to us from Dove Creek, and she did some after school work in some after school programs there, although it was a much smaller program. She was really excited to get to know our kiddos and see the difference. She is continuing her education and going into elementary education, so it's a good fit for her. On the 12th, we will have Savannah Urbina joining us. She was a class of 2020 Monte Vista graduate who is pursuing elementary education as well. She will actually graduate in December, and so it's possible we may only have her for a short time, but it's a good place to get her feet wet. I hope that she doesn't think that she wasted the last 2.5 years, because our kids they're fun. We're just gonna leave it at that. Also, this is really funny because Jesse, in all the years, Mr. Jesse, all the years that he's been working with us, he's had to deal with kids calling him Mrs. Jesse quite often. Now, instead of just answering to it, he can just be like, nope, that's her, because they call Jessica Mrs. Jesse. So he was like, now I don't have to answer to it. I can point them in a different direction. He was really happy about that. I even saw a Mrs. Jesse on a water bottle, and I was like, why did you spell your name that way? And it took me a minute to realize that it wasn't his water bottle, it was hers. So it's been a fun week. Let's see, we had a visit from a structural engineer today, so we're getting one step closer to filling out. I'm calling it our cool air challenge at Kids Connection because it just sounds like more fun. We've had a lot of challenges come our way, and we're climbing over each of them as they come our way, and it just sounds like a lot more fun. You got to keep life interesting. Our AT&T grant that Anita spilled the beans about at the last council meeting. She jumped ahead of me. Yeah. We're one step closer to that one. I hit a few snags on that today, and I'm very frustrated with it because it makes absolutely no sense to provide a grant for a computer lab, but you can't purchase anything that connects to Wi-Fi. Not even joking. So we're gonna leave it at that. We're gonna leave it at that. We have computers that connect to Wi-Fi. I was like, how are you gonna provide us a grant and give us computers that are all Wi-Fi capable? Are you gonna take them away? But it was lots of long conversations, and I think I found some ways around it. So we're just gonna leave that there. We'll deal with it next week and see what they say then. I've also applied for a mental health awareness grant. And with the hopes in that mental health awareness grant will be training staff in mental health first aid awareness, and also having 2 staff certified as mental health awareness trainers, so that we can train our youth in mental health first aid, and we can train other adults and individuals throughout the community in mental health first aid, because it is very important to recognize the signs and recognize when you need to step in and help out or offer additional assistance. So really that is all that we have going on. That's all I got for you.
You do a fantastic job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What do you do in your free time?
I text parents and ask them for food for football players right now.
Well,
That's my last year though. My baby is a senior. So I'm not complaining about it. It's literally the last time I have to do it. So every time I do something, I'm like, I promise you won't have to hear from me next year. And every time that school song plays and I'm that annoying parent yelling really loud, because my niece was like, do you have to yell that loud? I'm like, yes, I do. It's the last time, so living it up. I'm very sad.
Well, you're leading our future, so we appreciate that.
Thank you. I'm trying. We're teaching them chess because we realized I really enjoy puzzles and challenges, so I decided to purchase a bunch of games that challenge them to think strategically. And I haven't taken a lot of them into the room because I know that some of them are going to cause a lot of arguments because you have to sit there and think. But we realized over the last couple months that there's literally no communication with our kids. They scream and fight, and then they use their fists. So in order to communicate, we need to be able to sit down and work things out amongst each other. So I purchased some games that will encourage that. And the first thing was chess. We found a chessboard that actually had all the pieces to it, and we brought it out. I was in chess club in middle school. I actually took it as an elective because I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And so I brought it out, and I had a little boy who this summer had a lot of behavioral issues, and he saw the chessboard in my office, and he was like, oh, I play this on the computer. I was like, well, should we just sit down? And we got through a really good conversation while playing the game. But I only made like 3 moves, and he was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. He was used to playing the computer, and the computer was set on easy, and so he was used to dominating the board. Well, in my 3 moves, I just completely destroyed his game, and he was like, what? It was pretty amazing, not gonna lie.
Somebody harder than Mr. Foster.
I was, well, and it was pretty cool. I was like, you want to go again? He was like, no, I think I'm good. And then he went into the room, and he was like, I think I met the greatest chess player alive. And I was like, you're right. So we've had a lot of kids take a lot of interest in chess, and so I found a teaching chess game, and I just ordered 3 of them, and they actually have the moves printed on the pieces so that they can learn how to play it. So we're encouraging chess now and strategic play. So trying anything we can to get them to communicate effectively and use their brain for good.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Once I get them all trained, if any of you know how to play chess, or maybe you can go home and work it out and work on your skills. And I'll get some of them trained and have them school you. That'd be a good fundraiser. Come beat my kids at chess.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like that.
Sky High.
This week was fun. We put together 2 full basketball courts. So a huge thank you to everybody that helps us, especially Public Works. We could not have done it without them. It took us 2 full days to get those courts put together. So roughly when we round it all out, we've come to the conclusion that it'll probably take about 20 hours with 12 people to get both of those courts put up. So it will get easier the more we do it, and the more people that are trained, but it is quite the process to put together. We are gonna leave it up for a couple of weeks, and then we get to learn how to take it down. So that'll be another challenge. One, we needed to see kind of what the time frame was for it, how many people it took, how long it took, but also we are getting our basketball hoops delivered next week, and so they needed to be up so that the hoops could be married to the courts. So that'll all happen next week. Yay!
Wait, before you move on.
Yep.
Just so you guys all recognize, there were supposed to be, this is supposed to be a recreation project. And the recreation director was on vacation. And so the names that he left of the volunteers, since this is all thought of that could be ran by volunteers, were not there. And so this rested solely on Public Works Department and the couple of staff that Stephanie has. And Mr. Mayor came out for about an hour. But the bottom line of this is that it's not gonna work with volunteers. They're not gonna know, we can't have that inconsistency of who's gonna be putting it together and that learning curve time and time again. Although the committee that I put together, that George is chairing, is taking a look at what their recommendation is gonna be, we're not gonna be putting this court up and taking it down multiple times a season in order to accommodate basketball season all year long. It's just gonna be too labor intensive. You know, Rob's guys and Rob were out there for 2 days, and then that's 2 days that they're not working the streets or fixing a pothole or, you know, picking up a tree limb because it's in the middle of the street. And so this is really, it's been a very big undertaking for the city.
480 man-hours to put that together.
Mm-hmm. And you should have seen them. And part of the problem as well, one, we had never put together a whole court yet. It was just a few of the pieces. But these panels are 8 foot long, and they weigh 180 pounds.
Oh.
So I can't put on my work boots and go out there and say, oh, you know, Stephanie, grab the other end.
Well, you could, but it ain't gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen. And then the other issue is that one of the courts had, when it was made, the shiny stuff had gone down on the edges. So again, Public Works was down there with an actual scraper scraping the sides so that they could slam together flat. And so that took extra time this go around. But
that's a very good example of why it has to be put together by people who know how to put it together. Because if it's got a little lip on it or something, and you've got basketball players out there running and they trip over that because it was put together wrong. I know I am the wonderful catastrophe person here, but that's a liability, and it's not one that we can, you know, just trust to volunteers that, well, they didn't show up, so it's okay.
right.
You know, we didn't have to do that. But if that is what we're looking at, I think it's wise not to put it up and take it down, and put it up and take it down, and put it up and take it down. It's just not gonna work.
It was seriously labor intense. I've watched those guys for a little bit, and then I started helping them, and it was like, those boys are in their keep, especially being crawling around on that concrete. So.
It was intense for a couple of days there.
Well, but I'm glad that I am very glad that y'all did this, because I think it points out a lot of things that a lot of us have to consider now. That maybe some things that seemed like a good idea at the time, no, at first, well, I thought it was a good idea at the time. Sometimes they just don't work, not the way we want them to. Doesn't mean it won't work some way, but it's not going to work the way it was wanted to begin with.
Right, to call in the football team to put this together.
Maybe for, you know, week-long tournaments or something, you know, short term, but used every day for that short term. I can see where it's worth putting it together for that.
Well,
But-
we're gonna learn. You know,
Yeah.
we're gonna go. We're gonna learn.
But
So
not
that's
just,
all we
One
can do
step
is just
at a
go
time.
forward. That's it.
One step at a
So-
time.
and that's
But they
great
do
that
look-
y'all did that, because now we
looks
have
beautiful.
that data.
Yeah, there's.
They do look beautiful, and if you haven't had a chance to, like I said, we're leaving them up all next week. We're probably not going to take them down until the week of the 12th. So stop by and take a look at them. They are absolutely beautiful. They're just a lot of work. Anything about the court? Any other questions or?
No, like I said, I just thank you for doing it, because I think now we have
How's your
some empirical data that we can use.
scheduling going?
We are getting there. This week, or this month, I should say, is a little bit slower, which we are thankful for. We're actually taking a little bit of time off and getting everything clean and organized. And with having the basketball courts pulled out of the storage unit, my guys are in there scrubbing everything down and getting everything organized. So we've been doing a lot of stuff this week. We did get the rest of the donor wall put up. So the last thing we're waiting on is a few of the last plaques that'll go in the books, but that's all up. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that, stop on by. It'll probably be a couple weeks before we get those last plaques put on. our schedules are conflicting. So we'll get that done in the next couple of weeks. But other than that, it's up and you can come take a look at it.
So is the warming kitchen all finished now?
Mm-hmm. So there's one last thing that they're working on in the warming kitchen, and that is there's a sink that has to be cut into one of the steel countertops, and we're working with Hussman Plumbing to come and get that done. So we're just, again, scheduling.
Is it usable?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it has been. We're just waiting
I
on
thought
that
so.
last
Okay.
sink to come in. Well, it's in. We're just waiting on the last sink to be put together, basically.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So we have officially started our holiday bookings. So I see that booking up pretty quickly, but we officially got our first holiday booking today. So we're just waiting on all of that to come through. And then really the last thing that we have going on is at the end of September, that last week, we will have Beacon on site, which they're our subcontractor for our audio and visual, and they will be putting in our permanent system that entire week. So after that last week in September, we will be fully functional with our permanent system for audio and visual. It's really exciting. Yeah. Yep. And then most of our events this month are private. Our next public event at Sky High is going to be the circus on the night of the 28th. It's a Wednesday night. So, any questions about Sky High?
Are you gonna let the elephants walk in the event center?
Not in the event center, but they can be in the arena.
Definitely not more basketball.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Stephanie.
Okay, I don't know if you saw the newspaper this week, yesterday. Rob had a letter in there about our mosquito control program. Let's see, I don't, what do you call it, the program? Rob and I've met with a couple of ladies who have real concern over the pesticides that are used, and if they are insecticides. I call them. Thank you, insecticides. And the amount that we're spraying, and the drift. And he has revised the program, and he'll go into more detail next week. But you know, when the city started saying that we would have a do not spray policy, if, you know, Jason called and said, I don't want my house sprayed. And Victor said, I do, and Dale said, I don't, and I do, I don't. Our employee would turn off the sprayer, but the engine's still running, but there's no spray coming out. And they were watching for the signs, the do not spray signs. So when this started out, there was like 4 or 5 families. Well, now it's over 30. And it's really challenging to kind of mesh what these folks want and trying to meet the desires, I guess, of the community. You know, they pay $3.40 on your bill, your water bill every month for that service. So these ladies came in and they're concerned about, if we're killing the mosquitoes, then we're also killing other bugs that could be helpful. And bugs are eaten by birds, and so the birds are going away. And they requested that we not spray as often. And so Rob re-looked at the program, and just as a trial basis, he's only going down the streets and not the alleys right now. And we really haven't received any calls or complaints in regards to that. He's looking at different products that might be used for next year. But all this is leading up to, we're doing a survey. We agreed with these ladies that there's just 3 questions on the survey that will be done through the Survey Monkey. And then we said after that we will do community meetings to kind of hear what the community thoughts are. do they really want a spray program continued, or do they want council to consider eliminating it? And so, if you get any questions, just encourage people to fill out the survey. Rob will go into more details at our next meeting, but we're trying to be proactive and listen to what concerns are being brought so that we can see what we need to adjust or move on.
And that would only affect the city spraying, correct? I mean, if Councilor Foster and I were neighbors, and he did not like the spray, and I did not like the mosquitoes, I can still go out and spray my yard, and he's just gonna have to deal with that, right? Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Thanks.
Or vice versa, okay? Let him spray his yard, and I'll be the one who has to deal with it. I'll change the scenario.
Hats off to the police department. They did a great job with National Night Out, and saw many of you there, and I think it was fun, and we got everything up and almost all put away before the rain really hit, so that was really positive. And then not tomorrow, or not this Saturday, but the following Saturday will be the Potato Festival here at Chapman Park, and that's always a big event for community to get involved in, and we had quite a number of employees involved with the National Night Out, so hats off to all of them. And we've got several employees that'll be helping with the Potato Festival as well, so that's it. Keeping it light. Other questions or concerns? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Gigi. Council committee, council reports. Martha?
I got nothing tonight. Look how happy you are, though. Oh, I gotta make something up now.
I'll wait till the camera's off and I'll tell you. Jason?
Potato harvest is starting, grain harvest is in full swing, just be careful out on the roads, there's a lot of trucks out there. They don't always stop, so.
Mr. Foster?
Nothing.
Wow.
It feels good to be back because I was gone. Like, we missed the last meeting of 1 month, and then I was not feeling well for the beginning of the next one, and I was like walking here. I'm like, this feels weird. But it's good to be back. It's good to see everybody's faces, and so just want to say thank you to Monte Vista because I enjoy Monte Vista. I enjoy the people here. So if you see me out there, throw a peace sign, say what's up.
Very good. I'll back what Jason said. I was talking to a grower today, and he said that he was literally had a vehicle pass him when he was in a turn and almost took him out. Didn't happen, but we got to be diligent. And then same goes, see something, say something. The other night I seen flashing lights go by my house, and my wife said, man, Boone was really after somebody in the alley, pushing a bicycle. I said, did you call it in? Well, no, I didn't think about it because I said, that's probably who they were after. She goes, I didn't even think about that. But don't be afraid to say something, really. So outside of that, I appreciate Rob and his crew for putting the basketball court up. That they earned their keep for 2 days. I'm sure. And everything that's done here in the city. So thank you all. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting until
September 15th.
September 15th.